The reason I reached out to David is because I usually on my blog I like to reach out because photography being my second passion. Anybody who knows me knows I do carry out from time to time a series of written interviews with the photographers I look up to and admire, and David is probably part of those of that category because again I've looked up to David for a really long time because again you can only gain by looking up to people who are better than you, and David has proven to be a photographer of high quality and merit. Again, for somebody who's been doing it for 3 decades, you've certainly got the background to back it up. And again, that's why I wanted David to be part of part of this discussion about photography and helping everybody to understand that as a photographer and creative makers, it's not just about pointing a camera and shooting. This is not a conversation about gear. This is not a conversation about Nikon or Canon wars. Again, the basic story is what camera should you buy, whichever you can afford and whichever that works for you. Okay, I said it. There's the answer. Stop asking. But aside from that, aside from that, I really want to get. I'm really thankful to David for taking the time out of his busy schedule, because God knows this guy's got a lot to do in his life. But thank you so much for taking the time, David. Again, I can't thank you enough. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Thank you so much for being a part of this and allowing us to share on your insight, on your background, on your experience, because like I told you, I do believe you have a great message to share to anybody who's even thought about experiencing what it's like to actually create an image, because it's not just about seizing the moment, it's about being there. It's about seeing the moment. It's about the tools that we use, about what we do, and how we choose to communicate. How little munchkin.
Roxy's in the house, future skateboarder and snowboarder.
Roxy's in the house. Hi, Roxy.
Yeah.
Hi. So, David, again, like I told you, this is your interview. I don't want to put you on the spot, but again, thank you so much for being here. And again, it's a great honor and a pleasure. So, welcome. Where did photography start for you? Where did it begin? Where did your adventure start at? Because I did read on your bio that your mother was a wedding and portrait photographer as well.
Yes, absolutely. Basically, that's where it started. June 3rd of 1983 was when I picked up.
He remembers the date.
Yes. It was a very big day for me, and from that point on, it changed my life. She was an amazing photographer. First of all, before we go into depth, you guys, thank you so much for joining in, and thank you just for making this happen, you guys, seriously, because this is a fantastic opportunity for all of us to have a roundtable discussion about photography. And thank you for listening to my raspy voice. I hope it doesn't sound too sexy. But seriously, this is just phenomenal. And excuse me. And before we go any further, I really want to dedicate this episode, this chat that we're having, first and foremost to my mother. She was such an impact in my life. Second, I would like to dedicate this conversation and what we're doing here today to all the people that have inspired me, from Sir Richard Branson to Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and then unfortunately today, the late Nelson Mandela.
Oh yes, tragic loss. It was very inspirational. It was a really great loss.
But the great thing is, it's like today we lost a very inspirational man, but he's going to go down in the ages. He's going to be remembered for infinity because his impact in this world, in all of our lives, has had such a positive butterfly effect. It's been such an amazing ripple. And it's neat to see how my iPhone today has been all day lit up. Just
we got a frozen
person. Oh, we froze.
No, you're back.
Okay. But it's just really neat to see how one person has made such a difference on a global level after everything that he had been through. So with that said, I'm just really excited to be able to give back to you guys, to give back to everybody else around the planet. And I just want to dedicate it to all the people that have inspired me, because without the people that have inspired me, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys. Seriously, these are people that made an impact on me. So
I do believe so. I do believe you have a very inspirational message because from what I followed from your blog, from your photography, from the way you go about, communicating with your clients, communicating with your followers, and you've always got this very upbeat, inspirational, and motivational message to go about. The feeling I've gotten from you basically is the fact that it's not just about photography, it's also about the fact that we carry a message and we carry a responsibility to preserve the moment, and it's something that I think you do very well. I'm just wondering if is it something that that was there a decisive moment, or was it something that you set out to do? Because there's always this moment in time where, okay, I know exactly what I want to do like 30 years ago, or was there a change, was there an influence basically, aside from all these great figures that you've mentioned, was there a moment where you understood that I have a purpose and I have a role to play?
Absolutely. The first two dreams that I had, because being a photographer is actually not my first choice in life that I set out to do. Being an astronaut and being a jet fighter pilot, either in the Air Force or the Navy, was my original goal. I wanted to be able to serve and have a life of a servant, giving back and making a difference. But unfortunately, I was born deaf in my right ear, so that couldn't happen. So my third choice in my life was to make a difference through art, and I didn't know how I was going to go about it. So I knew my mother was just taking all these amazing photographs. She was doing a lot of neat things and just capturing those moments to where you can just look at it and people would see the real you in an image, provided that that connection was there, that relationship was there. And it was just that one day, June 3rd of 1983, when I looked at one of her books and I realized that one photograph can make a difference in this world. You can change the entire planet with one photograph. One photograph of the gentleman holding his groceries at Tiananmen Square in front of a line of tanks. The emotions that that particular photograph evokes. And that's a very powerful journalistic photograph. But then you have those moments during a wedding where dad, who is just a very cold, not cold, but just a very like hard read in terms of emotions, or doesn't let his emotions shine through, when he is able to really break down and let himself come through, and to be able to capture those moments and make that difference in that family's life going forward. There's just so much that we can do with it. You can alter reality with a photograph. You don't have to just look at it and go click, 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 click. You can actually see a moment, take that photograph, capture that particular frozen moment in time, share it with somebody, and that can actually make a domino effect, make a ripple effect going forward. And I knew at that point, back in the 80s, I knew that was going to be it. And it was just, from then, it was a matter of mastering my craft. And I'm sure you guys may have seen through all the different avenues on social media that it's really neat when you master your craft, you can experience pure joy. And anybody that has been around me, that has seen me shoot, my brother Tony, he's seen me shoot. I did some awesome portraits and an awesome interview and an entire life story with him when I was in Minnesota just a couple of months ago. And for me, it's just an extension, and I really hope to inspire other photographers or other creative people, whether it be a pencil, a paintbrush, I don't care, but to master your to master your craft, you will experience pure joy. Because it's just, for me as an artist, I get so bugged when I see people that struggle with their tools of their trade and they just don't understand and they can't figure it out. It's like, before you get on your tools of your trade, master your tools, master your craft, and from there it blossoms. You can just do so many amazing things with that. So,
but Tony, my uncle's bought a camera at Best Buy. I'm supposed to be good, right?
Not so much. Not so much. But that's neat though, because we all have to start somewhere. And a lot of the things that you had sent me in your list, it was only like 3 questions. No, it's a really huge list. The list was so big, I was like, my hand started cramping. I was like, I can't type this anymore. No, I'm just giving you a hard time. No, there's just some amazing things. And like you started off this particular program, it's not about the tools, it's about the people behind the tools. And I'm so excited that the topics that you want to discuss really is going to address that. And I hope that we're able to help inspire some other people to get past one of the biggest hurdles, which is just being a gear junkie. And I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. But with that note, there are 3 types of photographers. There's your first type of photographer where all that particular person cares about is price. Low ball, low ball, low ball, cheap, 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 because that's just where they're getting started. Then you've got your second type of photographer that cares about the gear. They're just massive gearheads, buying everything and this, that, and the other thing, and staying ahead of the curve, things like that. And then you have the third type of a photographer. That particular photographer cares about one thing and one thing only. Where's the light at, and how can I make it work to my advantage?
Light and I really being the language of photography, as it said.
Yes, the light, sunlight, all the light that I have on in here right now, things like that, making sure that you can figure out where it's at, how you can make it work to your advantage. Like Becker, who is an amazing wedding photographer and portrait photographer here in Southern California, he's consistently said he will sacrifice location over light every day of the week. And it was so neat because it's like, there's another photographer that says that, because it's true. I'd rather shoot in a grungy bathroom or in a garbage disposal that has amazing light before I shoot under a tree. It's like, it's really amazing what you can do with light.
It defines your image. It defines your image. It defines the moment. It basically helps you translate the emotion you're trying to capture with this one image you're trying to create. Because a lot of times we take that for granted. Oh, okay, let me just blast you with flash. And again, and that's a particular circumstance I had with my own wedding photographer, and I'll always remember this. When we scouted all across the city for having somebody who was professional, who was efficient, and we're going to talk about negotiating with that client. I hope you can give us a little bit of insight. But what I remember sitting down with my wife, I know with my complexion, sometimes if you can't light me well, flash is not my best friend. And again, he cut me off. He didn't even let me finish. Yes, I can. And he showed me his portfolio, and he was very proficient. And again, he knew exactly what I was talking about. Because again, if you don't understand how the light is talking to you, your subject will suffer. And you don't want to be that photographer who messed it up.
No, you don't. At the end of the shoot, at the end of any particular photo session, the best thing that can happen is that both parties, both the subject and the photographer, can complete their session and have no regrets whatsoever, and to know that they did the best that they could with everything that was available to them, and they know it's going to rock.
So so 30 years ago, so you're pretty much a child of film. So you pretty much started out with film, so you knew that part. So how did
letter? Yeah, the 4 dirty letters, film.
So how did that transition work for you when digital started to actually make its mark, and again models came to be a lot more affordable, and slowly but surely a lot of more people, because I believe film opened up that door where everybody realized, well, I might as well, 24 exposures to maybe 1,000 on a good memory card, might as well. How did you live that transition?
I loved it. Excuse me, I absolutely loved it. For me, the latitude, the dynamic range that I was able to have on a memory card. Now, of course, technology has changed. Our cameras have gotten better. The storage has become better. But just that instant change to where I no longer had to carry a fanny pack of film, and it was just empowering. It truly was really empowering, and to know that I had more that I could capture. It was no longer, well, I'm going to go shoot a wedding. I have 10 rolls of film. I have maybe 375 photos that I'm going to get out of this, and of that, I know I'm going to have X amount of photos to be able to use, and you had to make sure that you were very excuse me. You had to calculate those particular images in your head and constantly figure out, you have to do this, 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 and this, and at the end of the shoot, you were done. Whereas with digital, you can capture so many more moments. Average wedding for me probably yields anywhere from 1,200 to maybe 1,700 pictures on an 8 to 10 hour day. And I love it because there's so much more of the story that we can capture, and it's very empowering. And it really, for me, I feel like I'm admonished to capture so much more of that particular person's life and that particular person's story. So it was a no-brainer. It was just a matter of just finding the right technology that would work for me. And at the time, when I was on film, I was sponsored by Minolta. So I had all this gear from Minolta, and I used to, just love it. But then Minolta chucked their camera division, sold it to Sony, and at that point I had a decision to make. Either go to Nikon or Canon. I went to Canon, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I've been very happy. And now with the advancements with micro technology, where you can now do shoots with your high-end Nokia phones. The iPhone is really coming around. The things that you can do with your iPhone with ALM products. Oh my gosh, it's really sick. And I've done commercial shoots with just the iPhone and my Nokia phones and things like that. And it's great. It's the evolution. What we're shooting with today will become a relic in anywhere from 5 to 10 years. I've seen the transition in 30 years. It's just going to get easier and better. I mean, and look at what I'm wearing on my face. Google Glass.
Is everybody a photographer now? Has everybody had that bug, or is that the camera feature another medium of expression that people didn't know they had, or are we just enabling them with the technology?
I think it's a little bit of everything. The technology has enabled people to express themselves so much more. You can go on YouTube and look at all the Vine videos, whether it be very serious or very artistic or just silly and stupid. It doesn't matter. People are able to express themselves a lot more, and I think it's great. I think that it's fantastic that people can do that, but if they're going to hang basically a sign on their door and they're going to collect money and they want to charge somebody for their services, they should master their craft. And there's a big disconnect with that right now, and that's what I love about a lot of the things that you wanted to talk about today, was to address that disconnect, because no longer is there an apprentice, a journeyman, a master of their craft. It's just, I bought a camera, I'm going to go take professional photographs. I could go to Guitar Center tomorrow and buy a flute, but it doesn't mean I'm joining the LA Philharmonic on Monday.
We know that in the industry, charlatans exist, not just in the wedding industry, not just in the photography industry, anywhere. Whether it's car salesmen, whether it's doctors, you're going to find a charlatan anywhere. Well, what are your words of wisdom to clients? Because again, I can only think back as the time I went to the first time I went to a wedding fair, first and last time, and I saw a plethora of photographers. Everybody had a shtick. Everybody had this massive portfolio album. Everybody had all the services you can think of. But what are your words of wisdom to clients just walking in? Again, if you don't know what you're doing, you will get swindled very easily because they're playing on your emotions, and that's something we have to value and you have to be considerate about. So how would you? Because again, in the exchange that we had over emails, we touched on something. You said we're not just there to shoot; we're also there to counsel. How do I say coach the client? We're actually, okay, we're going in, we want a photographer. What are the questions supposed to ask, or what are some things that people neglect to ask of their photographer? You know, those little tidbits.
Sure. I'm gonna go ahead and address this from a client perspective first. The things that we should do as a photographer. First of all, just to share with everybody, when I go on a consultation, whether it be for a wedding, portrait, consultation, I don't bring any of my samples of my work. In today's digital age, they've seen it online, they've seen it on their phone, iPad, it doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, when it comes to shooting, it's all about the relationship. If you don't have the connection, it doesn't matter. I don't talk about anything that relates to the actual wedding day with my wedding clients. I want to hear their story. How did they meet? How did they fall in love? How did he propose? How did she propose? Did they both propose? Was there no proposal at all? You know, things like that. There's so much more to the story, and I want to share my story as well, so we can both, or all of us, get connected on that aspect, because there's.
Oh, we're losing.
It doesn't matter. It truly doesn't matter. I also want to encourage other photographers that are seeking to do weddings. Eliminate your shot list. No two weddings are the same. A wedding is organic. Period. Plain and simple. Everybody that thinks that they can have a shot list, it's impossible. You're going to have your key moments, and I have my short list that I like to capture.
Yeah, the standards. You know, you want the bouquet. You know, you want the dress. You know, you want the bride walking down. You know, you want the kiss, the work shot. That's have that settled. Okay, it's done.
But everything else when a bride says, well, I've got this massive list of all these particular photos, if she's very insistent on it, or if she's got a Pinterest, booklet that she's put together, encourage her to say that's great, but a Pinterest booklet will not be an example of your work, because if they're copying off of other photographers, then why are they hiring you?
Exactly.
about a month ago, but it needed to be said because there's no reason for somebody to troll Pinterest and then take this entire massive list and present it to their photographer. They should hire another photographer. And on that aspect, we should be respectful of ourselves, respectful of our client, and respectful of our craft and our industry to say no. Because at the end of the day, your client's time is important, but your time is also important, and you've got to put a value on it, whether it be monetary or just your life value. It doesn't matter. So chuck the shot list, you guys. Absolutely get rid of it. All the other details, it's all going to fall into place. You've probably seen I'm leaving for India in a couple months to go work with Sharada and David.
That's insane, going to India.
But there's the story that's behind it, and this is the perfect story that I really wanted to share about relationships with your client. Sharada and David, I met 3 years ago at another wedding that I photographed in San Diego. They were just dating at the time. He just happened to catch the garter, she caught the bouquet, and throughout the day, I happened to connect with quite a few people. We had good times, but I captured a particular photograph of them at the guest table that they absolutely loved, and they loved my personality and how it was just very hand in glove for them. So when I received the email and the phone call from Sharada, it really was impressive to me that I had that level of an impact. And since then, it's all been about relationship. Clearly, there's my homework that needs to get done, as should it be for other photographers. You've got your homework and research. Go location scouting. I can't go location scouting for India, but I can do my history. Yeah.
Just be ready.
But I can do my research in terms of the culture, in terms of just all the different things that we're doing. And then, of course, being a resource to your clients, you guys. Be more than just a guy with a camera or a girl with a camera. Know your industry, know your other vendors, know the properties that you're working at. So if you're going to be a wedding photographer or a portrait photographer, know what you can do for them. Because at the end of the day, again, if you can be more of a resource for them, they're going to have that much more of a good time. They're going to be that much more relaxed with you, with their friends, and with their family. When it comes to portraits, it's the same way. Absolutely do that. But on the other end of the token, for clients, if there's any clients listening in on this particular video, at the end of the day, it's your choice. If you chose photographer A over photographer B because of price, I'm just going to be really blunt and say you're making a mistake. Unless photographer A and B are like negligible by $50 or something like that US. Then okay, maybe. But I can't stress enough and encourage my clients and other clients enough. It's all about the relationship. It really is, because with the relationship, there's going to be far better photographs. And wait till you see some of this stuff that I just did at Marilyn and Dave's wedding last weekend. It was insane. I was on the floor. It was crazy.
That seemed simply sick, because all the little snippets that you show, and you throw good teasers, David Esquire, but that seemed just sick. They seemed like a really fun time, and they seemed to have a fun time as well as a great couple. But the thing is, I'm sure you've gotten that reply so many times. We're not talking about pricing. We're not talking about just price comparisons. But for that, I've got two things that irk me a little bit. You have that photographer who says, okay, I don't shoot under this. This is my set price. This is what the price I'll do any wedding. This is whether it's 60 people, whether it's 2,000 people. It's great. That I have a problem with, because, like you said, weddings are organic. It's different people, different locations. Yes. You can't have a base. You can't do that. That's something I have a problem with. Again, we're not being condescending. We're just trying to be educational and open-minded and have a conversation. And the second thing I have with the client that's coming to you and say, David, I can't afford Dennis Reggie budget. I can't afford Tevin Kubota budget. It's just like, if I can find my cousin to shoot it for me for like $400, why wouldn't I?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's their choice. And I think a prime example was this past week when a couple opted to have a friend photograph their wedding with 2 rolls of film and who knows what kind of a camera. That particular person took the film to Walgreens. Everybody's got their own particular budgets, but Walgreens is not exactly the place that would preserve the memories, develop the film properly, and things like that. And as it turned out, Walgreens lost 1 of the 2 rolls of film. Okay. Another photographer stepped in and recreated the wedding photos for them. Kudos to that particular photographer.
Kudos.
Absolutely. Massive tip of the hat to that
Because that could have gone wrong in so many ways.
Stress enough that is such an eye-opener for a lot of people that are out there. Again, there's a million of us out there with cameras, but really focus on the relationship, because at the end of the day, your memories are priceless, whether it be portraits, corporate, wedding, event, it doesn't matter. It truly doesn't.
You talked a lot about getting the training and learning to master your craft. You know that because again, I don't remember who made this quote, but you know, I'm sure you've heard that one in one way, shape, or form. I'm just paraphrasing. Learn the rules, master them, and learn to break them. So,
hey, that's me. You're quoting me. Oh my gosh.
So the reason I want to touch on that one is because where do you fall? Because again, art is art, but at the same time, there are certain rules. Again, there's a rule of thirds. Again, there's a way to frame. There's a certain way. There's a technique. So I wonder where you are in terms of, okay, if I want to be a photographer, I want to be an accomplished photographer. There's your school of like, okay, I'm going to go out in the world, and you know what happens, and I'll learn along the way. Or I'm going to go to art school, spend 2 years, have a technical program, learn everything, have my portfolio skewered, think I'm worthless, but in the end, I'm going to have a certification. How do we address that?
Both. I think it really depends on the person and what they put their value on. I don't personally have any formal education. I didn't go to the Art Institute of Chicago or anything like that, but I did learn a lot through trial and error. I learned a lot from the masters that are out in the industry. I would like to encourage anybody that plans on taking photographs to go online or go to any particular bookstore that might still be open at this point and grab a stack of magazines, get a cup of coffee or a Coke, whatever it is you want to drink, and sit down and don't look at anything else, but look at the photograph and see if you can decipher how that particular photograph was done. You don't need a diagram. You need to be able to look at a photograph and figure that out. That will make such a big difference. Mastering one's craft, I can't stress enough on that. And it's something that I share with high school students and with advanced college students here in Southern California, that two of the things that will make, well, three of the things, but two of them for the basics will be math and science. Those are your two key components that will give you better technical photographs. That doesn't go into the psychology of it. It doesn't go into anything else but math and science. If you can understand that, you will become a better photographer, because science, you have to understand color temperature. You have to understand, well, you should understand, I should say that. It's a choice. And when it comes to math, I can't tell you how many times there are certain properties here in Southern California where it's basically a dead zone for Canon flashes to work. It doesn't matter. I've got 3 flashes, and I put it on ETTL, and they fail miserably, so I have to go to manual. And when you do manual flash, you really need to know your numbers, and it's mentally exhausting at the end of a shoot.
Because you're calculating. You're really
absolutely
calculating.
You're calculating on the fly, and it makes a big difference. And I encourage anybody that wants to really get better at their craft, if you can't afford a Leica, who cares? Take whatever camera you have and put it on manual focus, manual everything, and become that particular kind of a photographer, to where if you need aperture priority or if you want to put it on automatic, it doesn't matter. It should just be an extension of your creative mind. It really, really should.
See the image, see the moment, learn how to decipher the moment. But in your own words, what would you think, because again, I'm sure you've seen your fair share of those moments, what makes a money shot? What makes that decisive moment? Because I understand from wedding photography, especially when you're in that one moment that you cannot recreate, would you say that your style in which, because we're going to talk about style and how one defines it and how you learn to curate what eventually comes to define, because again, you only have time. But when you're in that zone, when everybody else is dancing, throwing champagne, having fun, and you're in the background, would you say that would you say that you set yourself, are you the fly, or you just, because again, some photographers just disappear. They're just like ghosts, and then for some reason you just, where did he show up? Or are you part of the moment? Do you invade? How would you say you're part of that decisive moment?
Absolutely. In a way, people have said I'm like a ninja at an event, where they see me, but then they don't see me. I've had several people say that it's rare that they see a photographer that can walk the fine line when knowing when to nudge a moment, knowing when to step in, and knowing when to just basically be a wallflower and just let the moments unfold in front of you. It's not easy to do, but again, that comes with trial and error, and it comes with shooting all the time. Prior to selfies becoming very popular, anybody that knows me, and as I'm sure you've seen, and I've had several photographers share to me to my face
Those are
online. I know. But you know what's great about them is that it gives me an opportunity to be able to work with the light. It's not exactly like you can go up to a stranger, hey, I want to take a picture of you. They're going to probably think you're nuts. But if you take a picture of yourself, you can, again, continue to work on mastering that. And you can kind of also get comfortable with yourself in situations. A really, really strong tidbit that I would like to share with everybody, and I don't share this very often, but I really feel empowered to share as much as I can. This is a very special particular video for me. One of the things that will make anybody a better photographer, I can't stress this enough, you need to get comfortable in front of the camera. Because if you're not comfortable in front of the camera, how the hell can you direct anybody else? You can't. It's
obviously
impossible. Obviously. And one of the things in my career that I had the opportunity to be was a model for Ralph Lauren for 2 years. I learned a lot of good things and bad things about being in front of the camera. I learned a lot of good things and bad things about photographers. But it gave me the opportunity, adding on to all my experience in theater and as a musician and a lengthy list from there, it gave me an opportunity to really become comfortable. You guys, you need to be comfortable with your body, with your proprioceptor skills, understanding your body in space, time, and motion, and to pre-visualize. Because if you can see it in your head, you can then execute it yourself. You should be able to go, I want to look like this. Okay. And you just execute it. You make it happen. And if you can do that in front of the camera, then you can direct your subject matter, because there's so many people that are out there, oh, I hate being in front of the camera. I hate being in front of the camera.
I'm not photogenic. I'm not photogenic.
Oh, gosh.
I'm not photogenic.
You know what? And that's a bunch of BS, because everybody is photogenic. They just haven't had a good experience with a good photographer. And I've said that time and time again. So you guys, as a professional photographer, as a student, as an aspiring photographer, get your butt in front of your camera, get your butt in front of your iPhone, have your mom, dad, brother, sister. I just bought a new device called Shutter. It was a Kickstarter program. It's an amazing little product. It's a Bluetooth remote. It's literally like about the size of like 3 sticks of gum.
Wow.
And it's amazing. And it connects with your phone with Bluetooth. It works on Android and iPhone. I don't know if it works on Windows Phone. I'd have to look. So I'm just going to say I don't know. But seriously, it's literally, you just take your phone, set it up on whatever device that you've got, whether it be a pillow, a tripod, it doesn't matter, and use the shutter and learn how to work with yourself in front of the camera. Because if you can, you're going to make a world of difference. Not only that, but if you're confident in front of the camera and you have that confidence and being able to direct yourself, you're going to be able to direct your subject matter. And your subject matter, it doesn't matter. Whether it be a horse, a dog, a man, a woman, child, old person, it doesn't matter. Or a senior citizen, to be politically correct. Who cares? If people have a hard time with whatever I say, they need to climb off their cross, build a bridge with the wood from their cross, and get over themselves. Okay, I said it. Okay. So seriously, the confidence that you have internally will shine through. And it's just a no-brainer. You don't even have to think about it, and you'll become so much better of a photographer, director of photography, cinematographer, filmmaker. It doesn't matter. iPhonographer, all of that. You will become that much better of a person behind the camera.
But I want to talk about a little bit about comparing ourselves, because again, photography is a selfish trade. At the same time, photographers love to share. But at the same time, when you're always looking at the guy next to you, because it might seem like a stupid comparison, but I consider evolution in photography and progress in photography in the same environment as going to the gym. To your left, you have a guy who can't do one chin-up to save his life. You know this. To the right, you have a guy who's doing chin-ups with just his pinky. And then you're in the middle, and you're always in constant evolution. I believe photography is the same way. How would you address those people who say, like, you know, I'm never going to be like David. My photography isn't up to par. Well, how am I going to get better? Because again, I believe that, you know, we're always the worst judges of the worst critiques of our own work, and I believe that speaks a lot to self-motivation and believing yourself and striving forward and believing that you can. not taking risks and gambles on somebody's big day or somebody's project or or client's assignment, but still, it is worth the risk. How would you give him that nudge, David?
Absolutely. And again, I'm sharing all of this from my perspective and then from what I've seen other people be able to do. And I've had the opportunity to be able to change the direction of my photographic career several times. I started off in portraits and weddings, and then got tired of that and did extreme sports and did rock bands and models and high fashion, boudoir. Me personally, I've turned down porn. I refuse to do it. And somebody just candidly asked me that on Facebook. It was a very lengthy thread. And he just flat out asked me, is there anything that you wouldn't do, and how do you dress it? I said, porn, I don't want it. It's just not for me. I'll do fine art nude, but I won't do that. Now, for anybody else that wants to get out there and compare themselves, I highly encourage it. I encourage you to compare yourself in a healthy manner. Don't compare yourself and start berating your talent, your skill set, your image, just everything in your head. Don't berate and beat yourself up, but compare yourself in the sense that you look at people that you admire in the industry. 3 classic photographers that have pretty much set the industry up to where it's at today: Helmut Newton, Herb Ritts, Annie Leibovitz. 3 of my favorites. And then on the more extreme level, but not everybody knows about that.
There you go.
Not everybody knows about that. And then there's also, the wild and crazy David LaChapelle. That guy's just freaking awesome.
He rocks. He rocks.
Insane. But he's also inspired a lot of other people to do their style. So it's not totally entirely the same, but really look at like what you like. Try not to compare yourself to other people that are on the same level as you. Look way beyond that, like where you would be 5 or 10 years from now, or 60 days from now, 6 days from now, 3 weeks from now. It doesn't matter. Look way past that, you guys. It'll really make a big difference. And then again, try not to go online and get spoon-fed with all the answers, because as you guys probably know, I'm not going to be the person that's going to give you the recipe on how to do my photograph, but I'm going to give you the necessary directions that you need to go in order to develop your own craft. Yeah, I refuse to do that because it's my own style, and I believe in the open source that we have right now, but what's happening is that a lot of people are copying off of each other, and it's not healthy. There's a lot of flatlining going on in our industry. Really embrace your own style. And style is not created in Lightroom or Photoshop. It's created in the camera. It
definitely,
is.
Definitely. You have, it's always sad when, again, it's all about the tools, and I believe that, yes, you should always know where your art came from, and you should always look up to, like you said, the forefathers. And again, I'll be the flat out in saying it. It's okay if you don't like Ansel Adams. It's okay.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You work with what works for you. Even myself, I'm not a landscape photographer, but one of my inspirations is a French photographer, Yann Arthus Bertrand. He does terrific aerial photography, and he does fantastic work. If you've seen, you should actually see his project he did a few years ago called Home, where he does some aerial photography on hot air balloons around the world, and he does some fantastic aerial photography. And the entire documentary runs about, okay, it's a social message and protect the planet, but the photography is insane. But I don't do landscape. And again, I believe that you should also, as a creator, you should also, like you said, create with you can't shoot what you're not passionate about, I believe.
Right.
You can't shoot what you don't want. I believe you should experiment. You should experiment. When I did a nude boudoir session a few months ago, I had an awakening. I'm like, oh, this is actually interesting. And like you said, it's not porn. It's artistic nude. It's like, okay, let's try to make this happen. I was fairly new, and it was a full day workshop, and I really took a lot from it, and I really appreciate my images. I had no idea I could do that. But at the same time, I understood the first time I found this local band that was willing to, because they was doing this random show in a little podunk shack, but I bring to the creation a thing. It's not because they're just a small band that I won't treat them like they're not the Beatles. Again, you owe your client respect, and you should shoot what you're passionate about. I believe it's something that you have to take to the table.
Absolutely, and there's the old adage as well. Regular people want to be treated like rock stars, and rock stars want to be treated like regular people. Understand where your client and where your subject matter falls in within that particular spectrum, and then treat them accordingly. And by all means, treat them with respect. Absolutely, that'll make a big difference. And shooting, like you were saying, the fine art nude, anybody that thinks that they can go out there and shoot the human form in all its glory, it is the hardest thing you will ever do.
Oh, it is hard.
Because there is nothing else to work with other than just the raw, naked human body.
You have to deal with it. You have to learn to read the person. You have to know when the person, what flatters them, what doesn't. It's something you really have to, again, do your homework. Do your homework. Do where you're going in. Be open to learning and learn to communicate with your subject, because it's just you and the person. Because if you don't understand that, your images will suffer and you'll have wasted somebody's time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's insane. But moving on to that little subject that I really wanted to touch on, and again, this we're going to hit a nerve. Remember that one little article about shooting for free? Hey, Duran Rex.
Well, he came in from South America. This is Diego Rex.
This is Diego Rex.
Yes. Okay. Duran Rex is taking a nap.
So. When I read that article about, because again, there's this, everybody's had their fair share of, okay, I'm starting out and I just want to get my work out there. I want an opportunity to prove myself. I want an opportunity to get out there, and I want to have my images seen somewhere and promoted. Yeah, great. Let me shoot for free. But as it's been told time and time again, you're diluting the quality, you're diluting the product, and you're making the industry suffer as a whole, because I believe that's what we shared about the fact that if the standard becomes monotony and a lesser product, everybody suffers, because that's what the client is going to start expecting, and that's not what we want.
Right. Absolutely. And I think a big eye-opener has been a lot of the excuse me, a lot of the newspapers, a lot of the media sources firing their official staff photographers. I believe it's the Australian Tennis Association basically said going forward in 2014, nobody gets paid. Everybody's working for free for the experience. That's great. Experience will and tennis, like a lot of other sports, is very hard to shoot. I shot the X Games for several years, and if you're not on point with your particular subject matter, you're going to miss it. You're going to blow it. And so they're really taking a big gamble with that. But working for free, I have mixed emotions about that. I do believe in a trade for talent. I have no problem with that, provided that is what is being established. But if it is a photographer that is being requested to shoot their particular images for free, to put however much experience is behind their camera, and provide that service and provide that talent and that craft and all that know-how for free for somebody that is going to use it for profit, no. Absolutely not. Say no thank you, it's not for me, but I can give you 3 referrals, have a nice day, and stand your ground. Educate the client. And with that said, that's a whole other topic, but copyright. We can go on with that as well. That's a whole episode. That's a whole other dinosaur.
That's a whole other thing. How to protect your work, who gets full rights, who gets distribution. And again, that happened to me personally. That happened to me. And because again, I'm sure you know the scenario. Charity event, big, they're gonna come to you with the arguments. Great exposure. We've got 50,000 people that are subscribed to our newsletter. We're gonna give you ample representation, and we'd love for your gracious contribution. Okay, so basically you want me to shoot for 10 hours for free, plus the editing, plus submitting, plus give you all the rights to my images for free. I'll be the first to admit there was a point where the young me that's just trying and hungry to just get the work out there would tell you, yes, somebody wants to work with me, let me do it. But like you said, I'd rather lose that opportunity with walking out with my head held higher and the confidence that, okay, you know what? It's not a matter of a paycheck. It's a matter of respect and dignity for my time.
Absolutely. A photographer's education and all the know-how behind the camera does have value. That said, if somebody approaches you and they want your photographic services and they are a charity, but a nonprofit business at the end of the day means they didn't turn a profit, but all their expenses were paid. So please, you guys, don't let somebody approach you in that manner that you need to work for free. You guys, I'm sure have seen that I do a lot of charity work. I very much live my life with a philanthropist heart. That's fantastic. But I also will make sure that my time has a value. And you need to declare your time at the end of the year as a business. If you're going to operate as a business, you have to treat it as a business. And you need to have a contract. You need to have the client sign it. They need to understand they're getting XYZ amount of your time. They're getting XYZ amount of photos or a rough estimate, and what the parameters are within that particular job. Again, nonprofit doesn't mean you don't get paid. It just means that that nonprofit just doesn't make a profit. Their expenses, their utility bills get paid. Everybody else gets paid. The venue gets paid. The talent should be getting paid as well. There's no excuse for it. And at the same time, and I too, back in the day, I've made that mistake. We're all going to make a lot of the same mistakes at one point or another in our career. The main thing is don't make the same mistake twice or 3 times, which would be even worse. But make sure that on your contract, you retain and own the copyright to all your photos. It is your commercial work. It is your intellectual property. And you've got to grip onto that. It is so crucial because those rights are being stripped out from under us faster than you can imagine, and a lot of it isn't published, and how fast we're losing the rights to our creative our creative works. So really make sure that that is established as well. But working for free, I think that's great. There's nothing wrong with it. Just make sure that that is documented. It has a value, and everybody understands that. At the same time, you should get paid for your time. You absolutely should. And if you want to do a barter system, let's say there's a jeweler, or let's say there's a bike manufacturer, snowboard manufacturer, whatever it might be, and you see that there could be a nice, comfortable, even trade, go for it. Absolutely. By all means, go for it, because, again, everybody's going to be in a win-win situation. And you're going to have great work as well that you're going to be able to showcase. But don't work for free in the sense that you're just basically, okay. No. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're exposure. 1 month. Exposure does not pay the rent. And that's when you shared that article, I was like high-fiving you virtually here from Southern California. I was like, freaking brilliant. Working for free doesn't pay the rent. And as a collective, as an industry, really understand that we need to educate our clients. Oh, this just reminded me of something else. Here in Southern California, we've got a pretty huge bubble about wedding photography. And a lot of wedding photographers, there was that whole stigma about rock star wedding photographers and this, that, and the other thing. I don't believe in that. I don't subscribe to that, and I hate it when people do that. But I want to tell you guys out there, and it's a cold, harsh reality. It's a cold, harsh truth. Outside of the wedding photography industry, wedding photographers are continually viewed as the slime of the earth. I can tell you that from firsthand experience.
I have no idea where that comes from, but you're so right. That is the gist of it. Yes. In a lot of circles, and I've heard, like I shared with you on email. I'm not going to say who, but he's a pretty prominent figure in the industry and in the media, and I've heard him say this. He's like, he would rather shoot a football game under the hail, in the snow, overtime, than shoot a wedding, because his argument was a football game ends. But a wedding, you're dealing with the bride, okay, and then 2 months later you got to send the proofs like a week later, and then you have to send in the DVD, and then you have to send the gallery, and then you have to pick the prints, and then you have to make the album, and then a year later they're like, well, can you please retouch this photo and this photo? But hey, am I discrediting you for shooting planes? Why are you discrediting me because I choose to shoot weddings? I never understood that.
Right, and it comes from back in the day. It really does, because wedding photographers, there's a lot of silly movies that are on Netflix and on the internet where wedding photographers are just kind of, they're the guy with the polyester pants and the sweat-stained shirt and the comb over and things like that. And today it's a little bit different, but now we have what's going on is that nobody is a master of their craft, and there's a lot of plagiarism going on in our industry. And it's just hurting the wedding industry. So when you had reached out to me about, wanting to chat with me about this, I was very excited, and I'm very honored to be able to do this. But I really want to stress to anybody that's out there that is either considering or is currently in the wedding industry, outside of the wedding bubble, we're all viewed as slime. And I'm telling you, just help raise up the industry, really make a big difference in this industry, because there's nothing worse than being viewed upon like that. And I've seen the change, It's gotten worse. It's gotten better in some ways, but it's also gotten worse, and or become worse, excuse me. So really make a difference in that industry, but recognize it, because just because you can shoot a wedding doesn't mean you can go out and shoot high fashion rock bands and everything else, and then vice versa. So
There you
really,
go. There you go.
I want to really express to everybody that.
You can't deny the fact that every photographer on a weekend has a wedding under his belt. Every photographer at some point in the dead season, you know, somebody whose cousin's cousin wants you to shoot a wedding. It's like the first time I ever got approached for a wedding, and I was very honest about it. It was a matter of quality, it's a matter of reputation. I could take a chance with your big day, but I won't. You know why? Because I don't want that responsibility. I don't want that liability, because I know that my work is not up to par. Even though, again, they were really close to me, like, oh, we want you to work for us. We want you to shoot a wedding. It's like, no, I won't. Here are referrals. Here are people you can call. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
But, you know, if you really, really, really want me, okay, let's do this. But sometimes you have to be honest. Sometimes I'm blamed for being too honest, but I believe in terms of good business ethics, and like there's that word again, relationships. If you know, you have to know what you have to bring to the table. If you're not David Esquire, if you want David Esquire's work, there he is. He's in Newport Beach, California, and again, just call him up, and then I'm sure he's gonna do something for you. But it's crazy. It's crazy. What else did I want to touch on? Right. The fact that the iPhone, in terms of, because again, you're very in tune with the latest technologies, and the way, I'm sure you've noticed how the iPhone has revolutionized the world of mobile photography. Cell phones had cameras before, and yes. I'm not doing this as an Apple fanboy, but it is a terrific piece of hardware, and it's only evolved over time. Even going back from the 3G all the way up to the 5S, it is a fantastic camera in your pocket. And what that phone does, it's insane. And now you have your Instagrams, and you know, you have Facebook being the biggest repository of photos, and now we've got glass. Now, you being a glass explorer, how did that come about, and how are you living it? And for the people seeing you down the street, like, what is that guy wearing? It's like, why has it made such an impact, and why is it such a revolutionary technology, in your opinion?
From a professional and as a person, two different reasons. As a professional, well, let me back up, excuse me. How I got involved in it was the same way that everybody else did that is currently an Explorer. We had to either share on YouTube or Google Plus or Twitter, hashtag if I had glass, and then what we would do with it. The common thread seems to be, excuse me, that a lot of us are influencers in social media. We're early adopters, and we really embrace it. We take it, we run with it, and we see what we can do with it. That is a very common thread with it. For me professionally, it's really made a difference, because I no longer have to reach into my pocket. If it's just a quick moment and I don't care about the quality, I'm going to be like, snap, okay, glass, take a picture, or hit the trigger on it, something like that, or just capture a quick video. I'm totally fine with that. As a person, to the battery, there's a little button. You may not be able to see it. Dun, 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 but there's a little, whoops, let's see here. Right there. You should be able to see like a little button on the back of the battery.
Yep, right yep, here. I got it.
And it says glass on it. Okay. That is the audio button that's on the back of the battery. And the very first time that I put glass on at their office in Venice, I already had accepted the fact that I would not be able to hear my phone calls, my videos, my text messages. It didn't matter, because I was born deaf in my right ear. Okay. But the technology, with their bone conducting technology, it vibrates on the bone at the ear. I've been able to hear all my phone calls, and as you guys saw at the beginning of the video, I was on the call with one of my colleagues here in Southern California, Andy Lucero. She's a fantastic wedding and portrait photographer. She works great with babies and children. She's absolutely awesome. And we were just chatting, so as you guys saw, it's like I'm listening to the call, she's hearing me, and all this is going on. That's made a difference in my personal life. For incorporating it into my professional work, I've done it with a professional actress and designer, Melissa Kite. I used it on a charity event for Rankin out of the UK. And what I would do is I would weave the video in and out, or weave the photos in and out with the rest of my work. It's not on par with a professional DSLR. It's not quite the same as an iPhone in DayLight, but it does a great job of capturing the moment, and it's really revolutionizing and setting the bar in terms of wearable technology, because this is just the beginning. It's like the iPhone version 1.0. We all had to start with something. This is Google Glass version 1.0, and I just got the invite. I'll be trading this copy in for a version 2.0 that's coming out, and I'm super excited about it, and it's inspired other people to come up with similar designs. It's great.
Insane. That's
It's phenomenal. It's truly phenomenal what's happening.
I was listening to an interesting discussion between the very notable Trey Ratcliffe, who's also a glass explorer, and was also saying that he was doing a basic review of the Sony NEX, and he was saying like basically the DSLRs are apparently grandfather technology, and eventually they're going to disappear. As a proponent of the mobile, do you share on that? Do you believe that we might see the disappearance of the DSLR in the long term? Because everybody's saying the argument, well, if you want to cover a professional sports event, or you're going to cover a safari, an elephant, you need good hardware, good solid hardware.
You do need good hardware, but you need a better person behind it. And the DSLR will become a relic, just like large format, just like using glass, not Google Glass, but actual glass plates, metal plates, all the things like that. Hasselblad's now embracing the newer formats for technology. Everybody is. Mamiya is doing the same thing. Everybody is. And look at what's happening with Micro Four Thirds. We've got some fantastic advancements with the gear right now. And I really hope that everybody else is out there listening to this and watching this is able to understand that it's not about the gear, it's the person. I'm not a fanboy of Apple. I'm not a fanboy of Canon, Nikon. I don't care. I'm just a fanboy of whatever works. And
Nor should you care. Nor should you care, in my opinion.
Everybody, right, it's our opinion. But not everybody may see that. They may think that they can't shoot with anything else other than a Nikon. They may think that they can't use anything else other than a Windows-based cell phone. It really doesn't, for me, it doesn't matter, and I really hope that other people start to embrace that. And the micro technology is the evolution. The Micro Four Thirds, the SLR, or the DSLRs and the SLRs are going away. It's going to change, but be ready for it and embrace it and be looking out for it, and it's a choice. And that's one of the things that you and I have talked about a few times.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Makes a nice segue into what we really wanted to dig into in terms of the transition. And you know where I'm going with this. Okay, so I'm curious. Again, I'm in the comfort zone. I'm going to my 9 to 5. I like photography. I do it on the weekend, but I really have this yearn, and I really would, David. I really would want to make that transition, but I'm afraid. I've got obligations. I've got my system, but I'm afraid. How do we address the fear? Because I'm sure at some point, again, you come at this from a passion standpoint, but you know as much as I do that's so many people out there have that wish. It's like, okay, let's explore the creative. Maybe should I? Shouldn't I? Should I? Shouldn't I? What would be your message to those people?
Sure, absolutely. That's a great question. I believe that everybody that wants to embrace their artistic craft needs to understand the saturation of their market, the direction that their particular market is going in, and is it getting to the point where you're able to do your craft in a manner to where if you don't do it, you're going to miss out on your life. And you also need to understand that your craft can generate a revenue stream that can sustain your lifestyle, whether it be lavish or whether it be modest. It doesn't matter. It's whatever's comfortable to each individual person. For me, because of all the different changes that I've had in my career, I've had those highs and those lows, very, very dichotomous points at times, and be open to it, expect it, and don't beat yourself up over it. And when it comes to a fear-based decision, a card, put fear behind you. That's when you get out of your comfort zone. You've got to get out there and really challenge yourself as an artist, as a business person, and always be learning. Excuse me. Roberto Valenzuela, an amazing photographer, he once said on One Camera Dojo podcast that he loves to live his career and his life like an amateur, like a student. He's always looking through his camera like that. Always be learning, you guys. Seriously. I've been doing this 30 years, and I never stop learning every day. Every day. I spend 3 to 5 hours a day. And for me personally, that's what I can basically commit to it. But 3 to 5 hours a day are committed to learning more about the industry, the trends, business, technology, inspiration from other people. I might be reminded of something that I forgot about from 25 years ago. You never know. But be prepared for it. And if you feel that you can make that transition as possible and foresee the ability to be able to do your craft in the long run and sustain your lifestyle, I say go for it. Absolutely go for it. And anybody that says that you're not a full-time photographer while you're working a full-time job clearly doesn't know. They clearly don't know, because I know a lot of people out there that put in 40, 50, and 60 hours a week on top of their part-time or their full-time job, and they're rocking it. They're totally rocking it. They've got their own reasons for it, and they're totally doing it. And if that's what you want to do, then so be it. Absolutely do it. But find out what works for you as an artist and as a businessman. Because I know a lot.
Consistency is key, because
yeah.
it's been said so many times, because successful photographers, I read this somewhere, successful photographers are first and foremost good businessmen, because it's a dichotomy of thinking that we spend most of our time shooting, and then doing just a little bit of editing, and then we're just living it out. There's so much under the hood. Because you go to a great show, you go to an opera, you go to ballet. Yes, it's wonderful. It's such a fantasy. Oh my God, they're so beautiful. They make it look so easy. You have no idea how much time and practice and suffering they're putting on that stage for maybe 2, 3, 4 nights, maybe in a month, every single night. It is not something to be taken for granted. And art is art. And again, Picasso is not Picasso. It's Picasso for a reason, and you've had your fair share of successes and letdowns at the same time. And I know that with myself, just putting so much time and investment into my family, of course my photography is going to be put on the backside, and I know this. I'm aware of this, and it's a choice that I made. I know that for the time being, I'm going to have to put the creative aside. But this is me making the conscious choice. You know what? Let me do this. Why not? Let me extend my invitation to this photographer which I admire, and then let's take the time. Let me invest in myself, and it's something to be considerate about. And if your photography is suffering, consider the time that you put into it before saying, "Well, I'll never get better. I'll never get better. I'll never get better." You really have to. You really have to.
You really do. And to anybody that's out there that thinks that they need to have a plethora, just an oversaturated website or an oversaturated Facebook page, Instagram page, and you've got thousands of photos on it, I'm going to tell you guys flat out right now, nobody's going to remember your last greatest photograph. They're going to remember your last crappiest photograph. Your craft, your body of work is only as strong as your weakest photo. So if you've got 600 pictures on your website and 10% of them suck, that's what people are going to remember, because you can think about all the popular artists. Think Miley Cyrus. What do you remember? The VMAs.
The VMAs.
You think Britney Spears. I think Britney Spears shaving her head, just kind of losing her mind. I don't think about all this amazing music that she's done. I think about those particular things, and that's unfortunately the way it goes as an artist. So really keep an eye on that as well. And again, you're only as good as your last photograph. So if your last photograph yesterday was kind of mediocre and you shared it, that's what people are going to remember you for.
That's what people are going to remember, and they will skewer you for it. They will skewer you for it.
Seriously, you guys, on your mobile phone, absolutely do not, by all means, as a photographer, do not let any of your work go out to the public unless you've edited your work, because I'm sure everybody that's watching this video right now has seen my work edited and watermarked. Not only for branding's sake, but for protecting myself, protecting my body of work, and protecting the people.
I know that for a fact. There's not a single Esquire photography image out there, and I've done my homework. It's all watermarked. It's everywhere, and I kudos to you for that. It's all edited. It's all quality work. It's all stellar work, and it's all work that you can be proud of to share. And I know it's a conscious decision on your part.
Yes, and it takes time. It takes time. I haven't shared the rest of my snippets from last weekend at Marilyn and David's wedding, and there's a reason why, because I haven't sat down and edited everything. I've done the rest of the work, but I haven't done what's in my mobile phone. So I really encourage everybody that's out there, if you're sharing work in your social media arena, make sure that it's edited. Get yourself a watermark program. And a 99-cent investment on a watermark program is nothing, and it's an operating expense if you're considering yourself a professional photographer.
There you go. You just have to. It's the cost of doing business. It's the cost of doing business. I want to touch on this last one, David, because again, you talk about again the passion, the time that we're investing into time, and it's like again, same as going to the gym. You reach a plateau, or you reach that point of maybe it gets too hard. What keeps you shooting, David? How do we stay motivated? What is your fuel, just from a David Esquire perspective? Because again, a lot of people have been through that hurdle of like, yeah, I like photography, but I haven't touched my camera in like ages. So where do we find that fire? Where do we find that creativity? Where do we find that will to keep going?
That's a fantastic question. I would like to share an example from 1997. I just got back from being on tour shooting X Games, and I was just so consumed with shooting from the paycheck. I was shooting in order to get the cover of the magazine. I was shooting in order for the amount of the paycheck. I was no longer shooting from the heart, and for 3 months I retired. I hung up my glass. I hung up my bodies. I was like, no, this is for this. For me, that was the wrong reason on why I was shooting, and I needed to reevaluate that, and I didn't know why, because I hit that brick wall. Writers have it, they call it writer's block. We get our doldrums as a photographer, we get the uninspiration, and we've got to be able to identify why we have that happening. When you can identify it, then you can figure out how to deal with it and then move forward from it. And sometimes it's the subject that you're working in. I can tell you, I'm not always a wedding photographer. I haven't always been a wedding photographer. And I would just find myself kind of lacking in that and just kind of like, it's okay, I'm bored. And I'll move forward and find out what else is interesting to me and then start to embrace that and learn how to do that. And I really hope that everybody else is able to kind of recognize it, because the minute you recognize what is causing you to have burnout, doldrums, boredom, uninspiration, when you figure that out, then figure out what is inspiring to you. O'clock in the morning, and it's shooting maple leaves on the street at 3 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't matter. It truly doesn't matter. You've got to be true to yourself at the end of the day as an artist. But the recognition of what's holding you back. Sometimes it could be fear, and sometimes it could be burnout. There could be a variety of reasons. Each person is different, but recognize it and then move forward from there.
Do we give too much credit to critique, to what the internet thinks, what our peers think, what the neighbor's going to think? Do we care, like, maybe I'm going to fail at this, why should I try? Do we set ourselves up for failure?
Yes, I do believe some photographers do. I've known quite a few photographers here in Southern California that won't embrace digital, and their studios and their businesses are suffering because of it. A lot of people are. I can always tell when the industry is struggling because I see more and more people selling their gear. And yeah, it's an obvious trend right there. It's like, I'm selling this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, whoa, that person's, for whatever reason, more people are able to see that. Don't be so harsh on yourself, unless it is a fine art print. One of my friends and a good colleague of mine and an amazing photographer out of Spain, Danny Mendoza, I had chatted, and it was about 1.5 years ago, and I met him at the beach on my motorcycle, and we did a portrait shoot with him and my motorcycle. And the whole basis of it was I wanted to shoot the entire thing with video and photo, and it was all done on my Nokia 808 PureView camera, because it wasn't a phone. I mean, it's a phone, but it's a 41 megapixel camera. And the work was stellar, but the thing that held me back was that I was being such a perfectionist with the work to where I was literally spot cleaning the little rocks and the grains of sand and everything in my room. But I wanted the work to be that dialed in. Understand that your time does have a value to it, and try not to over-critique your work. And, excuse me, and if you are over-critiquing your work, recognize it, stop it, and move on from it.
That's encouraging. That's encouraging because it's happened so often when we're so caught up.
Yeah, and so is the client. The client is caught up on it too. I can't tell you how many times I've either had a bride or a client contact me within 24 hours. So when do I get the pictures? I just shot like 3,000 pictures. Really? It's going to take me a little while to edit this stuff. But make sure that you're getting it good in the camera too. The better you are in camera, the less time you're spending behind the monitor. And if you look at some of my Twitter feeds and some of my Facebook feeds from a couple of years ago, when I was just like, I took every wedding under the sun that came at me, and I was editing anywhere from 10 to 20,000 images a weekend. Wow. I knew that, oh yeah. Well, I think one of the days, I was like a 12-hour day, and I cranked out 14,000 pictures from several different events. And
wow.
It can be done, but you've got to start with something that's good. But just don't over-critique your work, you guys, and don't do so much comparison from yourself to the next person. Really see what you're worth. Really, really see what you're worth.
That's
intense.
That's intense. That's intense. That was deep. That was deep. But in terms of how we approach our creative projects and how to be authentic to ourselves, how do you contend with, again, coming from your perspective as always, because again you have a delicate balance between being essentially creatively authentic and being technically proficient, as in like, okay, I want a technically efficient image and sacrifice the creative. But again, I believe that when we approach a project, we always bring a little bit of ourselves, because again, people, like you said, hire you for you, and they want you to transpire through the images. And do you ever battle with that? It's like, okay, is this the right moment for me to try it out, or try out this thing, or here am I going to approach this thing, or does the client give you full on respect and like, okay, go ahead, this is your baby, go ahead? Because you want client feedback to know what they want, but at the same time you're bringing yourself to the table. I'm not sure if I'm a little bit too confusing in the question there.
Oh, no, not at all, not at all. To be authentic, absolutely. I encourage every photographer to just be themselves. Do I look like your traditional, stereotypical wedding photographer? Not so much. I'll wear a kilt if I have to. I don't care. It's my style, and that's who I am, and I want. In that same token, I hope everybody else is out there that is able to be true to themselves at the end of the day. And if you feel the need to kind of start breaking those barriers and start breaking those rules as a photographer or a filmmaker, absolutely, by all means, go for it. Do it. Totally just go crazy with it. And it will all fall back on the relationship that you have with your client, regardless of the arena that you're shooting in. It does not matter. It's also not the easiest thing in the world to do, because I struggled with it when I was first starting. But the reason why I struggled with it is because I had not mastered my craft. Okay. I did not master myself, my confidence level, and I find myself sometimes getting caught up in that, like, ooh, do I really want to do this? I'm like, yeah, I do. I really do. And if I fall flat on my face, oh well, what did I do wrong? Figure it out. And if I like it and I want to go for it again, I'll do it. If not, and it just sucked, it sucked. That's the joy of digital too. And also, don't get so hung up on the mode that you're shooting in your camera. Joe Busink likes to use different modes in his camera. Everybody likes to use different modes in their camera. Me, you guys, if you want to shoot an aperture priority, manual, P for professional, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Figure out what works for you, but master that machine and master your craft, and you can make that setting work for you. Don't get so caught up on the settings and everything, and you'll find that freedom. There's so much freedom in being a master at your craft, whether it's a photographer, a surgeon, a mailman. It doesn't matter. A website coder. It doesn't matter. When you've mastered your craft, it opens up so much more. And like you were saying earlier, when you master your craft, you've understood the rules, you've mastered the rules, you can start to break the rules, and you can start to rewrite the rules. And when you can do that as a photographer, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Because there are times where it's like, I can't figure something out for whatever reason. Being honest with you, there are times where I just can't figure something out. What am I missing on it? Evaluate it, figure it out, and then do it. And just freaking go for it with all your heart and all your soul and all your person and all your being as an artist. You'll surprise yourself. You
It's
really, really will.
impressive. It's a terrific message. It's a terrific message of motivation and inspiration. And that's exactly the type of message that I know you bring through every creative venture that you bring, because people would gain from following your Twitter feed and following you on Google Plus, because you always bring such a very empowering message. And I believe that's what you're about. And I believe that's something that people can gain from, because we struggle not just as creatives, but also as people from time to time, from believing in ourselves, believing that choice, as always, there's that word again, choice has such an impact on who we are and what we do, and the future well, basically the path that we choose for ourselves in this lifetime. And again, if you choose, differently, and if you choose to empower yourself, all you have to do is just like believe in yourself and then go for it, whether it's in photography or in creative or anything. Again, if you don't believe in yourself, who will? Who will? Again,
That's right.
It's all about you. It's just not just shameless self-promotion. It's all about understanding that you have it in you to make things happen. Listen, this conversation only started with a very innocent, honest to God email, and David was nice enough to, to extend the hands, like, you know what, let's go beyond this email, let's make it live, let's just do a chat interview, let's just make it happen. For 5 seconds, I told you this, I was very honest, and I'm like, why? But you're David Esquire. Like, why would you sit with me? He's like, I'm just some random guy up in Canada. It's like, let's make it happen. And you know what?
Absolutely.
Let's run with this. Let's run with this. And this speaks the truth to so many things that photographers can aspire to, in terms of believe in your work, believe in what you have to bring to the table, and believe that, again, you have a duty to be honest and ethical about the way you carry out both your craft and your business, but at the same time to strive for excellence, because you see a lot of crappy photography out there. There is so much of it, but at the same time, not being condescending, there's a lot of great photography out there, and people would gain from understanding that you have to learn to differentiate, not just for yourself and your peers, but also for the client who wants and who's going to spend, some of your time to ensure their services. Something that really needs to be spoken about.
Absolutely. And I really want to bring up a couple of points about what you're talking about with choice. I've been asked several times before in the past, and I do my best to be as positive as I can, both in my life and in my craft and in my business. But here's the key, you guys. I really want to encourage you that your social media persona is your persona. That is what people perceive you as. And I've had several people ask me, David, do you ever have a bad day? Hell yeah. I've had a lot of bad days in my life, just like everybody else. But it's a choice, and whether or not you want to add to all the despair and the misery and everything else that's out there, or do you want to be a positive light to help inspire somebody else to make that choice and kind of go, well, it's a choice. Either I can put it out there that I've had a bad day, or it's my choice to keep it, behind closed doors and be a positive light for somebody else. There are times in my life where if I'm having kind of a bummer day, I'll do my best to turn that around. It's like, well, if I'm feeling like this, then there are how many billions of people on this planet all around the world.
Why would you want to add to the statistic?
Yeah. Why would I want to add to that negative statistic? But also, I'll even turn that around and put something else out there that's positive. Maybe it be an inspirational quote or something else to hopefully shed a light on somebody else's life. So persona is a big part of your life. So really, really, really be conscientious of that. And then you had mentioned about promotion. Think of it this way. If a major corporation can brand themselves and beat down our throats over and over again, buy a Big Mac, buy a product, why can't we as individual artists and entrepreneurs or small business owners or big business owners, you are entitled to do the same thing and be consistent with your brand and be consistent with your message. I shared the other day about Kanye West, and he self-promotes like crazy, but he's also got sponsors. He's got corporate sponsors.
Oh, yeah.
And there was an advertiser that ripped through all of his songs and found a common thread about one of his favorite, Kanye West favorite car in his music is a Mercedes-Benz. And then he goes on to talk about
there's a lot of plugging in a lot of his lyrics, and it works, and he knows it too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we have that option, we have that choice to either have our image and our persona spread across the masses around the world and be like a shotgun blast and be like just splattered everywhere, or you can bring it in like a laser, fine-tune it, hone it in, embrace the social media tools that we have, and figure out your voice and get it out there. Absolutely get it out there, because Twitter has been one of the best tools for us as artists and as individuals. How difficult is it to type 140 character or less message and articulate your message and your brand and what you're all about? This is pretty freaking hard, and over time you'll get better at it. There's other tools like Clout. Really use those tools, but again, it's a choice. Either you can choose to do it or you can choose not to do it. And the person that chooses not to learn is the person that wants to stay ignorant, and they will embrace mediocrity.
But I don't use Photoshop. I like natural light.
Well, that's great. Then you'll be a master of natural light. I don't care. It's whatever works. But also, I want to also stress to you guys as artists and as photographers and business owners that the norm has shifted. Clients are no longer expecting great work. They're expecting mediocre work because photographers have set the norm. There's a lot of mediocre work out there, and unfortunately the mediocre work is...
The bar has been lowered.
Exactly. The bar has been lowered, so more people are expecting mediocre work. So I really want to stress to you guys, really get better at your work and surprise your clients. And the more you surprise your clients, you're surprising yourself, and you'll be better at it. And just stick to it, and really help lift up your industry, regardless of the photographic industry you're in. Help lift it up, help educate others. And again, you don't have to give away the entire farm. You know, my mother used to say, always keep a cup of sugar to yourself. Do the same thing. Depends on the size.
You're perfectly entitled to keep your secret sauce. Hey, McDonald's does it, why can't you?
Absolutely. And you know, there's also the argument, I don't see Ferrari and Lamborghini sharing their, all their trade secrets. You don't need to do the same as a photographer. I really encourage you not to put out there, well, I shot this particular photo at this hour of the day with this lens, this aperture, this f-stop, blah, 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 blah. Here's my work. Do you like it? Great. If not, that's your choice.
That's your choice.
As long as you're satisfied with it.
That's your choice. That's perfectly your choice, because again, in terms of scouting, listen, like you said, you got booked for a wedding in India. Are you going to go to India tomorrow to actually scout the location? No. You'll make do when you're there. You'll make do when you're there.
But I did get an opportunity to go to Atlanta in January for, I'm hoping I pronounce this correctly, it's the Mehndi and Sangeet. Mehndi and Sangeet. Basically, it's a farewell party. It's like a seeing you off party where they anoint the bride and groom. I'm taking that. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. But it's a great opportunity for me to go and meet several of the family members, meet several of the bridal party and the friends, and really help build that relationship. So then when I go to India to shoot one of the ceremonies, a lot of people are familiar with me. I've established that relationship with my client, and it's a trickle-down effect. Exactly. And the more that people can see how comfortable you are in that environment and with your client, the more apt they will be to relax in front of the camera. You want people to be nagging you for photos. Absolutely want that. And then when I go back to Atlanta next year for the other second ceremony, then several people will be there and be familiar with me. And
there's David.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I want that. I really strive for that. And I really encourage all you guys out there to really strive for that as well, because it'll make a difference in your work. Because the more that people are comfortable in front of your camera, the better your work is going to be. You won't have those fake, I hate that crap. There's a big difference between a natural smile and somebody tapping you on the shoulder during a money dance to smile.
You know that shot. Hold, stop your perfectly natural moment and create a totally fake one so I can capture it. That speaks to a lot. And you have to learn to know the difference. I have to know how to capture a moment, and you have to know also when not to shoot. You can't interrupt this moment.
That's right.
You have to know when not to shoot as well, because some moments are as wonderful as you would want to. You have to know how to read the moment and understand that, okay, shutter's down, not the moment right now. You have to be respectful of what's going on. Yeah, again, it's all about being aware of where you are, who you're with, and what you have to bring to the table as both a photographer and as a person. Because again, people are people, clients are people first. Forget what they're paying you. Forget how long time you're going to be standing there. Yes, your feet are going to hurt, but then again, if that's what you're here for, that is your duty, and you are here to preserve this wonderful moment. It's
Absolutely.
something that we have a lot to carry on our shoulders. Not just as wedding photographers and as creatives. Again, we have to promote our art. We have to promote ourselves. We have to inspire. We have to motivate. It's perfectly okay to be afraid. And every given day is another opportunity to better ourselves. And I love that message you bring about educating ourselves and elevating ourselves, because I believe that in terms of how you go about your life and how you go about carrying yourself and your business and your reputation, you should always strive to elevate those around you as well, not be the person to drag them down, but to lift them up. That's just a message I like to pass around, because it's something that's worth doing. Because a lot of people need that little push forward. They need a nudge. They need a nudge.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Crazy. David, I think we're going to wrap this up for the evening. You've been so generous of your time. Thank you so much. I can't thank you again. I've said it before. I'm probably going to actually exhaust the word thank yous in the dictionary, but thank you so much for your time and insight. I hope everybody got their fair share of information. Again, I hope that we covered most of the topics that we want to cover. And again, this thing has taken a life of its own. It's been a privilege and an honor. Thank you so much, David. And again, I can't thank you enough. I'm repeating myself, but again, I truly enjoy your work. I truly enjoy your message. I wish you nothing but success and nothing less. And I hope we'll have the opportunity to exchange again, either on the different social media platforms. And again, if ever in the distant future we have the opportunity to sit down about another topic or another, it'll be a pleasure. If ever you're available, we'll be happy to do this once again. But thank you for your encouragement, because this would not have happened without you.
You know, seriously, I feel like we're just getting started on the conversation. I really do. I feel like there's just so much more that I want to go over, and I think we should schedule another one of these chats.
Yeah,
I truly do, because there's so much more that we're able to share on a global level and keep it on a real world perspective.
We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen. Absolutely. If that's how you feel, I'm more than open. I'm game. Again, we only have one life to live, and again, it goes around saying, why not? Why not?
Exactly.
If you're game, so am I. And we'll make it happen. And again, we'll try to make it happen as soon as we can. Again, because again, I know you have a very busy schedule. And again, that's why email exists. That's why Twitter exists. You know where to find me. I know where to find you. And again, it'll be a pleasure again and an honor to host another one of those sit down, because it's been a terrific conversation. I hope everybody agrees, but I certainly do. I feel it's a privilege. And again, it's been an extraordinary journey. Like I said, 3 years ago, here I am sitting on a bus listening to a podcast by this guy called David Esquire, and here I am sitting across from him over Google Plus with the miracle of technology and the power of Google. And you know, here we are having a wonderful, open conversation about our different crafts, our business, and our aspirations to creativity and bettering ourselves and those around us. So thank you for this.
Oh, and you're very welcome. And I can only mirror exactly what you're saying in the same manner. Thank you so much for reaching out to me. That's no BS. It's not like, you know, it's none of that. Seriously, it was just, I was so flattered, and I feel very humbled to be able to, you know, sit down and chat with you about this, and chat with you about our craft, our industry, the business. And I want to express to everybody that's enjoying this video that if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me anytime. You can just look up Esquire Photography and you'll find me everywhere.
There's no two of them. You're the only one. You're the only one.
there's just me, and you know, like I tell everybody, you can't not come.
Oh, I think we froze. I think we froze for a second. I think I lost David. I think I lost him. Oh, I think he was into it. Oh man, he's suspended. Look at him. David.
Well, if it had to happen, this was the right time. It had held off for a long time.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It was just like a god. He was just like, he was gonna get into it. It's like a crescendo. It's like, and I think I lost him. Oh man, is he still in the chat, David? Oh, I think I lost him. I think I lost him. But anyway, all right. Anyway, I'll catch up with him. I'll probably text him or something. But Bradford, thank you so much for being here. I hope it was totally informative. For me, it certainly was. Thanks so much for your time and for availability. And again, I see your comments in the chat. Again, like David said, we'll probably try to schedule another one. We'll try to coordinate it. We don't know when, but again, life is like that. And again, we'll try to make it happen. Again, Google Plus is there for that. And I can only thank everybody on YouTube and on Google Plus and all the different platforms for sharing and being here. And again, I hope you had a fun time. I certainly did.
Oh, I'm back. Huh?
You're back.
Oh.
We lost you for a sec.
Yeah, I think I had too many things going on here on my computer all at the same time. I've always got a ton of streams happening. But I really want to share with everybody. If you have any questions for me, feel free to contact me. And I would love to be able to do this again, because I think there's just so much that we can all share and help educate each other and help lift each other up. Because I would really, as I've said before, and I will continue to say it again, time and time, I would love to see all of us lift each other up, help lift up the industry, and make a difference not only in our lives, but those that are around us as well. Because the old adage states, a rising tide lifts all ships, and it really does. And I also want to
quote that one. Oh wow! Oh, I like that one. Oh,
yeah.
Oh my God! Oh, well, that's resounding.
Wow! It's so true. The more that we can help ourselves and still keep our things to ourselves in terms of our recipes, so to speak, the better that we can be as artists, the better that we can be as a community, and also keeping it real as well. That's so totally key. And just a little bit of insight on how I live my life. And if you guys want to know the stories, I'm more than happy to share them on another conversation. But I live my life spherically. I don't live my life in a sense that I'm paying it back, paying it forward, or just living in the moment. I live my life in a sense of a spherical way, in an entire 360-degree way. And one of my favorite actors described this about the Wachowski brother and sister when they were doing the Matrix trilogy, how they would look at something and they would look at it from over here, and over here, and over here, and over here, and over here.
All angles.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really want to encourage you guys to, as a person and as a professional, to live in a spherical sense, because everything that you do, say, breathe, see, touch, everything, it will have a positive or a negative ripple effect in the world. So be a part of the positive butterfly effect. It really will make such a difference. And I want to share one quick tip, and it's from my mother from nearly 30 years ago as a professional photographer.
Lay it on us.
This one's huge, and it will change everything in how you shoot. And there's the old adage, change your perspective, change your life, blah, 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 blah. But quite simply put, when you're on location as a photographer and you're walking somewhere or you're looking at something, do 180 and look at it from the other direction, because I can't tell you how many times I've been on a location or been on a set and I do 180 and look back at what I just walked past and I see it from a totally different angle, and that's what I'm looking for. And trust your gut. By all means, trust your gut as an artist. And the hairs on the back of your neck will stand up. It's crazy. I can't tell you. It's like, I jump up and down like a little kid in a candy store when I'm shooting pretty much all the time, because I'm trusting my gut and I'm listening to that inner creative voice, and it'll make a difference in your work. It really, really will.
That's a terrific tip. That's a terrific tip.
And Brad, I thought November was last week.
Well, I've got to have a little bit of shadow to define the chin or the jaw, and really right now.
It looks great. It looks great, Brad. Thank you so much. It's been a terrific pleasure. Again, it's been a lot of fun. Again, we'll definitely try and do this again. We'll actually ride that wave, like you said, David, and we'll try to schedule it any which way we can. Again, thank you so much. Again, from Candiac, Quebec, all the way to Newport Beach, and about all you guys. Again, thanks again. All my gratitude, and again to everybody watching, thank you so much for all the promotion, all the sharing, and all the best to you, motivations, and all you guys. Stay awesome.
And from EPHQ, I will see you soon.
Ciao. You guys have a great evening.
Cheers, you guys.
Good night, you guys.
Good night.